Hi everyone, my name is Mrs. Erb or Erica Erb, and I am your son or daughter's tech ed teacher here at Cocalico High School. I'd like to just kind of start out this presentation telling you a little bit about myself and the classes I teach, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail about what we do in each of those classes. So this year I am teaching 3 new courses for myself. The first one is product design. This is a brand new course for the school. And then the other 2 classes are digital photography and digital design and print media. Now this is actually my 4th school year here at Cocalico High School. Previously I have taught a number of different classes in the department. I'm one of 4 teachers, and we've had a lot of retirements in the past couple years here, so I've kind of floated around and taught whatever I could help out with. Your son or daughter might have had me in other classes. I've taught energy, power, and transportation, computer-aided drafting and design, digital electronics, materials tech or wood tech, and then manufacturing as well. Little bit about my educational background. So I grew up in a small town called Zionsville, Pennsylvania. It's in the Lehigh Valley, and I graduated from high school from Emmaus High School in 2011. After high school, I decided I wanted to be a tech ed teacher, so I went to pretty much one of the only programs in the state at Millersville University. I was there for about 4.5 years or so doing my undergrad. My undergrad is technology and engineering education, and I have a minor in athletic coaching. After my undergrad, I kind of came across this opportunity to work as a graduate assistant for my department and do my master's at the same time. So the next 2 years were spent doing exactly that. My master's is in technology and innovation, and during my time there, during grad school, I worked as a GA. My duties as a graduate assistant were to run all the open labs of the department. So anytime kids had to work on projects outside of class, they had some scheduled free time in the lab, which I would supervise. I was running their woods labs, their metals labs, electronics, graphics, pretty much every lab in their area, which gave me a great experience in all the different areas of our department. After grad school then, I taught as an adjunct professor for 1 semester, teaching technical sketching and design. And then shortly after that, I landed my long-term sub position here midway through the year. A teacher had retired partway through the year, and I had stepped in as a long-term sub. And then after that, I was hired full-time. And I've been here ever since. So a little bit about my family. My family consists of my husband, myself, as well as my 15-month-old daughter. And then I have 2 dogs as well. If your kid has had me in the past, you might have had me most recently last year when I was out on my maternity leave for my daughter. Most kids know about my kid. I have pictures of them everywhere. They are my world right there. So then I have my 2 golden doodles. I call these my fur children. The white one is Hazel. She is 5 years old. And then the tan one is Disco. He is 3 years old. They are both big, goofy, golden doodle dogs. Big 70-pound dogs that think they're lap dogs. Some of the things I like to do in my free time consist of pretty much anything that gets me outside. I love to go camping. I love to go hiking. I love to take photos of nature in general. I do some kayaking, some fishing, things like that. Again, anything that gets me outside. I also love seeing live music. I love going to concerts. I love listening to music. If you ask your kids, I probably almost always have music going on in class, just to kind of fill that background noise at all times when kids are working. All right, so a little bit more about the actual classes I teach and what we do in each of them. So the first one is product design. This is my Block 1 class, and this is a brand new class that Cocalico has never given before. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of examples to kind of show you of what we are doing in class. We've only completed 1 project so far, but I can kind of tell you what the whole class is based on. So this class is a series of larger projects that they do throughout the semester, and it focuses all on the design process. So we will provide kids with a design brief. This presents a problem to them that they have to solve with some specifications laid out. They have to define that problem and their specifications. They then have to come up with some possible solutions and do research to help them come up with those possible solutions. And then they go through like a very systematic approach of how to choose what the best solution would be out of those possible solutions that they came up with. So in these early stages, we focus a lot on creating their sketches, doing their research, as well as working through your decision making on what product to actually make. Once they have decided on their chosen solution, then they are able to create a model of their product. On the first project, we just kept them to a model, and then they presented their entire project. Later on in this course, we beef things up a little bit as we go through, so not only will they do just a model, they will then actually create a prototype of the product itself, do a little bit of testing, get some peer feedback, and then present the project to the class. Modeling and prototyping is a big part of this class. That's pretty much the main hands-on portion of it. So with modeling, again, they are just going to be using materials that are just very basic, just to kind of get their point across. A model doesn't have to be functional. It just needs to represent the size and the visual appearance of what the product might look like. So they have access to a lot of different craft materials like felt, construction paper, cardboard, foam board, things like that. You can kind of see another model here. This was their first project that they did. My class consists of mostly boys, so I was trying to come up with a product that they don't use on a daily basis, so I had them design a handbag, carry bag, purse that would be able to be sold at Vera Bradley, kind of just to get them out of their comfort zone and designing something that they're not used to. The second project that we're just now starting is called a green toy design, so they have to design a child's toy that is made with sustainable materials. And again, in this project, we're beefing things up a little bit more, so they'll have a basic model made out of like construction paper, cardboard, foam board, whatever that case is, and then they'll actually go through and create that product. So they will make a full-scale working prototype. They can then take that prototype, ask their peers for feedback, and then present that to the class. So presentations is a big portion of this class. It's something I'm really trying to get these kids used to, standing up in front of the class, having a time slot that they have to make these presentations in, really working on the visuals of the presentations, not making a PowerPoint slide of 100 words on one slide, and just kind of working through some of those basics with them. Kids don't like the presentation part. It's something that we are working on, but again, I try to stress to them how important it is to kind of show their entire documentation of creating their product. If they were to invent something and they wanted to go for a patent, they would have to show proof of the ideation and the entire developmental process. So that's what we try to show in each of these presentations as well. We do have a lot of access to different materials and tools in this class. So we have basic woodworking machines that are available to us, such as a table saw, radial arm saw, drill presses, things like that. And then this week we are teaching them a couple of new pieces of equipment in the lab as well. So we have a laser engraver that they're able to use, as well as 3D printers that we're going to try to incorporate into our projects the best we can. The next class I teach is my digital photography class. This is my Block 2 class. This is a course that I have taken over from somebody, and I am changing the curriculum a little bit. I'm trying to make things my own. But basically, this entire class is based around two main things. One, learning your DSLR cameras, so taking an actual DSLR camera and learning every single manual function of that camera and how to change those settings. We're not just doing point and shoot photography, we're actually learning how the camera works and what each of those settings mean. The other end of this is the editing process of their photos. So we use Adobe Photoshop in here to edit our photos and do various design projects with that. Other things that they do in this class are studio lighting or portrait lighting or product design lighting, stuff like that. So we do have a whole studio area set up with a backdrop and all of your different lamps and lights, reflectors, all of that they can go ahead and learn how to use. And then once they have created really nice photos and they've done their editing process, I then allow them to actually print out their photos and mat them on a mat board, kind of giving them a little bit more of a frame, making a bit more of a professional display of their photos. So the biggest thing in this class is those DSLR cameras, learning how to actually manually shoot with those cameras. We do allow students to take the cameras home with them for various photo shoots. A lot of times they will have to do their photo shoots outside of class just because we don't have a lot of opportunities to take photos in class. There's not a lot of opportunities of things to take photos of. I mean, they can take photos around the classroom, but that only goes so far. So I really try to encourage kids to do the photo shoots outside of class where they have access to a lot more areas to shoot. Once they bring their photos into class, then we mainly focus on all of your various editing projects. So we do a number of different projects in here. One of the very first projects that we did was a restoration project where we took some old-time photos that had scratches or blemishes or tears on them, and then we used our editing software to kind of clean those photos up and repurpose them, give them some new life. We also do various photo shoots on specific settings of their cameras, so they'll play around with stuff like their shutter speed. They'll have to capture motion that is frozen and motion that is blurred, playing around with their shutter speed settings. That's one kids love to do because they get to run around and be a little crazy to kind of capture that motion. We also go into things like your aperture, so they're learning how to create a depth of field. Having your subject in focus in a blurred background is something you'll see in a lot of professional photos, and that's kind of something that we try to teach the kids and how those settings work with each other. We also do a lot of just basic editing for your photos that don't necessarily have to do with the camera itself, but just Photoshop. So they do things like HDR pictures, high dynamic range, where they have multiple exposures of an image that they can merge together. They do something like a panorama photo or panoramic, where they, instead of taking one continuous photo like you can on the iPhone, they'll take 3 to 4 individual photos that are slightly overlapping, and then in the software we can merge them together all into a panoramic photo. So there's a lot of things that we do. We're going to be beefing up some of our editing here coming up. So expect to have your kids take those cameras home a little bit over the weekends is usually when I have them sign it out, and just try to enforce that they are taking care of that equipment when they have it. Other than that, like I said, we're just doing mostly editing in class. They have a lot of opportunities coming up here to kind of explore some new tools in Photoshop that I'm really excited about. All right, then lastly, my last class is my third block class. This is my digital design and print media course. Again, this class is a new class for me. However, this is a class that has been taught here before. But again, I'm trying to make these classes my own. I'm trying to switch up the curriculum a little bit and keep things up to date. So in this class, this is all about digital design. We work with 3 main softwares: Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. Photoshop is used for any type of raster photos, any type of realistic looking photographs, and all of that editing that goes involved with that. Illustrator is for all of your vector artwork, that 2D cartoonish type style artwork, creating things like logos and such. And then InDesign is a multi-page software. So anytime that we do things that have multiple pages or a lot of text even on them is what you really want to use InDesign for. We create things like brochures or menus, things that are multi-pages, newsletters, things like that we'll do in InDesign. We do have opportunities to work with some equipment in this class as well, so we will have a project where we get to screen print a one-color t-shirt as well as create some stickers on the vinyl cutters. Other than that, we just do various digital projects. We do a bunch of different editing things. So one that you might have seen your son or daughter talk about is our pen tool project, where they find an image online and they have to recreate it using the software. They create this vector image of this that can be blown up and resized to whatever they need it to do. The kids have a lot of fun with that one. All right, that's all I have for you today. Feel free to reach out to me at any point in time. You can email me. My email address is listed there. It's also listed on the website, or you can always call the school and get a hold of me that way. Thanks for listening. Hope to hear from you soon.